This is the presentation for the 19th Sunday of Ordinary Time, Year C, and for Children's Liturgy or Sunday School. And it's about Jesus speaks of the kingdom of heaven. So the doctrine point is fairly simple. It reads, "Our greatest treasure is in heaven." And Jesus likens heaven to a wedding feast. The materials you need, well, are just several apostles, perhaps some people from the gospel characters as well, with a suitable selected background. And the Jesus that is used is Jesus from the gospel characters. So it's not the risen Jesus with holes in his hands, depicted with red, or the Last Supper where he's actually holding the Eucharist, so this or the bread that will become himself. So that's the setting, and it's really more for reference. I focus for the children, that the children can look down at that and be reflecting and immersing themselves in with those characters as Jesus speaks. So this is the way the presentation will go. Well, today, children, we're going to listen to Jesus as he speaks about the kingdom of heaven and what a great treasure it is. So let's light our candle. As you know, we're doing that because it's just reminding us that Jesus is present, and also that we are reading from the gospel, from scripture. And here we go. Jesus was speaking to the crowd gathered there. "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Make purses for yourselves that do not wear out." Now you'll notice I'm just randomly creating an impression of what is this about. "Make purses for yourself that do not wear out, an unfailing treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So, be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for their master to return from the wedding banquet, so that they may open the door for him as soon as he comes in and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds alert when he comes. You must be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an unexpected hour." I'm going to put out the candle now. There's quite a few things we can think about there. And it wasn't easy for the apostles themselves and his followers, other followers, to grasp everything he said. Jesus was speaking in kind of mini parables, you could even say, talking about being dressed for action and having our lamps lit, etc. Now you'll notice, catechists, that I've ad-libbed a little bit there, and that will happen at times, and it's good to do so if you feel that something needs a little bit of unpacking before the I wonder questions begin. So here are the I wonder questions. Jesus said, "Do not be afraid, little flock, for it's your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom." Who might be the little flock that Jesus is speaking to? So hopefully the children will come up with the idea. They're like the followers of Jesus, and yes, it's like a flock, like Jesus often talks about sheep, and so did the prophets in the Old Testament often mention God being the shepherd, and the sheep being the followers, the ones who are interested, that the Father takes care of, or God takes care of. So these things might come up in the children's contribution to the I wonder question. Then you move on. Then Jesus said, make purses for yourself that do not wear out, a treasure in heaven, where no thief comes near and no moth destroys. They are interesting words that Jesus said. I wonder what Jesus is telling us about heaven in these words. And this is where they might come up with the fact that we have to build our treasure up in heaven. It's kind of like spiritual financing, that kind of thing. And nothing can destroy that because it lives forever. So it continues on. It can't be ruined or destroyed or stolen or damaged. Moths eat things up. You know, the children might not be aware of that. Moths kind of set themselves into clothing, and they will kind of chomp their way through some of the wool or whatever it is. They may need a bit of context to help them with that. And then move on to another possibility. And you'll notice here that I'm actually quoting again the words of Jesus, because it is hard for the children to remember that passage and what's been covered in the passage. So in this case, I have introduced the actual words of Jesus just before each I wonder question to bring their focus to those very words. And that's important when one's following the Sunday readings, and it is quite challenging. It may not be covered in classrooms or in schools, but it comes up in the context of the Mass on Sundays, and that's sometimes the challenging thing for the teachers, the catechists. So we need to kind of work on bringing the right words to the attention of the children as needed, even if it hasn't been listed in the booklet. So here's the third angle. Then Jesus said, be dressed for action and have your lamps lit. Be like those who are waiting for the Master to open the door for him as soon as he comes. Now that's really paraphrased from the full gospel reading and even the reading that's presented to the children here. And that's fine within the context to do that. So in the context of those words, I wonder who is the Master that Jesus is speaking about. I wonder how can a person be prepared in this life for the coming of the Master. I wonder when the Master actually comes. That's not an I wonder question in here actually, but it probably would be a good one to ask. I wonder how we can be prepared to meet Jesus one day. And even when we receive him in a Holy Communion, when we've made our first Holy Communion. Then after that, as often is the case, there's not a great deal of time if it's children's liturgy, but if there is, they could draw a picture of a person doing something that would make Jesus happy. They could mindfully colour in an appropriate black and white image. And even if there's time, they can actually visit the diorama a little bit and represent that to each other. They could even also, if some of the previous materials are set up that they've been introduced to, have a little bit of time to visit those things. But that's particularly possible if it's actually Sunday school with a bit more time.